Hey,
Hello.
hey, hey. Welcome to the weekly wrap up.
It's a weekly wrap up. It's Monday again. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone tuning in on X, YouTube, and of course in getting started in crypto.com.
Exactly. The
How
place
you doing,
it should be. So we've had a bit of excitement today to wake up to Bitcoin moving a little bit, tiny little bit. So if you were watching last week, which has been nice because the alts have bounced a tiny little weeny bit, and everyone's excited because everyone gets excited when it's green. But is it forever? I see lots of accounts getting all super bullish. And I don't think we're there yet. There's no magnets and rockets out yet.
It's so tempting to be so bullish because it feels like we've been in this chop for so long now that I'd imagine it is really easy for us to, through want rather than, or desire rather than analysis, want it to be going up and green. So just before we jump into Bitcoin, we have very excitingly been sponsored by BingX.
We are. That's super exciting, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up with BingX and some rewards that you can get from trading on BingX.
Yeah, and actually we've been using the platform and enjoying it as well. So looking forward to working further with them. Cool. So we're going to do this as usual, Bitcoin, Ethereum, alts.
We are.
Any
we are. We're going to have a look at what is going on. So if you were with us last week, you would have seen what Bitcoin was doing. And so far, so good. It is there. So let's jump straight into Bitcoin. So hang on, I'm going to turn into my nerdy trader self so I can see the chart. So basically Bitcoin's still very much in two patterns. So this is pattern number one, which is basically a WXY. So that goes our W, our X, and our Y would finish at the E wave. So that goes sideways until about end of August, early September, and then we take off. That is in line with what I told you last week with the outcome of how long it goes sideways in a 4-year cycle. So we're kind of looking like August, September to get out of the chop. I still do think there's another potential pattern where we go up to 87. Obviously, this may go fairly quick in this region, and we'll head up to 87 once this is done. We don't always get the D and the E wave. So this Y wave may finish at the C, and then we are going to head up to that 87 region. I'll show you on a different chart after. But if this is going to break down here, so may not be a B, C, D, E pattern going sideways. So basically, instead of this C wave may finish lower. Can go as low as 47, likely to go in the 50s somewhere. Now what that looks like is we get a 5 wave. So instead of our A, B, C here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming back down. Ignore that. And then that is our WXY complete that way. So WXY. So neither of these patterns have confirmed as yet. So we have a pivot sitting above here at 66,818. It's going to be around that region depending on what exchange you're on. It may be, $50 either way, but it's going to be around that region. So that basically confirms. So if this is a 4th wave, the wave 1 and wave 4 don't cross. They can cross with a wick in a leverage market, but usually they don't cross at all. So when we're looking at this, if this is an ABC in this region, so this is basically, this is our A, this is our B wave, and our C wave will go just under. So the 1 to 0.1 to 1.618 fib level goes just underneath that pivot. So if this is still corrective, that is either an ABC and part of that pattern that I showed you on the previous one, or going down at that point. That's our 4th wave complete, and then going down for that final wave, the final 5th wave. So that's a potential in this region. So going back to this, we are currently in this ABC. So regardless of pattern, this is the potential. So if it is a complete correction and this is an impulse, so basically we're going to get 5 waves heading up to here, and then we'll probably likely get a breakout, and we're going to be heading to 87k. So what we want to see in that region would be essentially a pullback to that region, a come up here, retest, and then 87. So that's the really, really bullish pattern, that there is a potential. So, but we've got 3 patterns right now. None of them are confirmed. We're just trading sort of sideways momentum at the moment. Yeah, it's a little bit exciting when we get green, but until we get to that 66, 800, 850-ish, that sort of region, we're still corrective. We still don't have a pattern. We're still, sideways forever, potentially until August, September. And yeah, or until we've got that breakout, or we've got this retest and we are holding, we're still a little bit away from knowing where we're at in this pattern. So when we look potentially at, if we have a look at the DXY, so the DXY is almost at a major resistance. So we're pulling back at the moment, which is allowing BTC to rise. They're kind of like a seesaw. So if DXY is going up, crypto is going down. If they're USDT or US dollar paired, if they're Bitcoin or Ethereum paired, different story. So essentially, when the DXY is going up, you want to be with in a BTC or an Ethereum pair. When it's going down, you want to be in a USD pair. So that's USDC stablecoin, USDT, and the millions of other stablecoins that are out there, but they're the majors. So it has a little bit more to go. It's going to pull back. That's allowing BTC to go up. Markets will probably open, and we're going to get a rise. We should see probably about 106 to 107 within that region before we get a major rejection on the DXY. So we want to see that rejection happen. And that's when we'll see potentially a breakout with crypto and BTC and that 87K that I keep talking about. So when we go to those potential patterns, these are what I was showing you last week. So these are our WXY. This is our zigzag that I showed you. And then our WXYZ. So that can be either an A, B, C, or it can be a 5-wave down. So that's what we're looking at for BTC. So don't get too excited yet. We're not quite there. We're almost there. We're this far, this far away, and we should get some confirmations hopefully in this week. If not, kind of by, I would say mid-July, we're going to know sort of what pattern we're following.
So close, yet so far.
Yeah, it's so close. So if we quickly jump to this BLX chart, so this is the 87K that I'd like to see, sort of mid-August by September, that sort of region. Then we get that last pullback, and then we are off and running for the bull market.
When you say off and running, just keeping that chart up there, do you think potentially, because I always look at that, however you say it, parabola curve that you've got on there, Do you think it might? Yeah, the purple one. Do you think it would come back down after reaching the star at 87, and just is that likely where it would test, or is that irrelevant?
It can do, yeah, definitely. So it may creep sideways, sort of within this region, which is looking at about 70K. So if we get to 87, and that's our, fifth wave on our wave one of this cycle. So because we've entered what I believe wave 3 super cycle, then we're coming back down for our wave 2. This to me is a fourth wave, and because it is very triangular and very sideways and very slow. So patterns for Elliott wave have what they call sort of like a time frame. So when we go into our third wave, that's always the fastest and the most explosive wave of the Elliott wave. So that's coming up after this next pullback which I think is about 87K. And that's when I want to hear the whole of Twitter go, it's over, the market's over, and, be selling down to zero. So that's usually when we get that major fear. And we get a quick pullback at that region because that's our second wave. Second waves often pull back fairly quickly. If they don't, so if a second wave is extended, that means the fourth wave will be quite quick. So this wave probably has a little bit more to go. So, we want to see by sort of October this starting to really move, and that's within our 4-year cycle period. So when you go back and you measure all the time frames throughout the cycles, we're coming up to the end. This is just a choppy bit that chops everyone up, and it is super hard for even the best trader to trade. So this is where you want to be, as I keep saying every week. Dollar cost averaging into your long-term bags. What you're trading should never be everything. It should be like when you're going into the bull run, what you're trading is 10 to 20% of your entire balance. And the rest is 80% is your long-term bags. And that should be split up with BTC, Ethereum, top 10, and then going into your riskier coins. And that's kind of what you want to split it up to. You can have up to, however many coins you want, but obviously when you're buying and selling and that sort of thing at the, bottom, you're putting in a lot of effort into building that portfolio. So I would recommend between sort of 50 and 100 coins, splitting that up, DCAing until we get to about September, October, and then we should be taking off. So I think we're almost there, and 2025 is going to be looking good. But I think, we've got a little bit more sort of pain happening and sideways, I think. So, that all changes if we get this impulse. If we get this impulse, then, yep, that's going to 87K. But I still believe that it's going to be a hard resistance to be breaking. So let's just see where we go this week. And if we can get to that 66, 808 or 850 pivot, yeah, that's what you want to be looking for. Watch that region.
So let's say we get up to there, we cross the pivot, and we start seeing signs that Bitcoin is going up to your 80, what did you say, 87,
750
area. What does that mean for altcoins? Is do you think they will pump alongside Bitcoin, or just after, or just before? Or didn't XRP always used to start alt season back in the day? There are so many kind of unwritten rules.
There's so many. I've heard so many unwritten rules over the years. XRP starts at Solana, starts at, Cardano starts at. There's so many altcoins now. I don't know if you can say whichever one starts it. XRP has hardly moved. So we're going to be having a look at that one. But, when we go into charts like the dominance, We've just got a little bit more to go before Bitcoin actually, goes into the bull run. I think we're going to creep up to about 58 for the dominance. When we look at charts like Ethereum, we're just waiting on that ETF to happen. Now, potentially we're in a B wave. Potentially we've got one more wave down, and this is a bear flag building. So I don't think I've seen predictions for Ethereum going to 2,400 and lower. I don't think that's happening. So yeah, Ethereum's pivot basically is around 3,700. So if we can break above there, Ethereum's good to go, and we're off and running. Potentially we do have a A, B, C, D, E forming like we do have on BTC. So, that's the potential for Ethereum and for a lot of the alts at the moment. Alts look like they are in a final wave up before they've got one more down. So, and then we're going to get alt season. So if I bring up, I don't know if I've got it open. No. So let me have a look at the layout, total. So when we're looking at the total too, this is a market cap excluding BTC. We've got a very similar pattern to what Bitcoin is showing at the moment. So there is potential that there's one more dip down here with that WXY, could be an ABCDE, and that goes sideways for a little bit longer in this pattern here. So an ABCDE, and that could be alts just completing their patterns right now and then heading up on the next wave down. So so this is completing their either fourth waves or their C waves, B waves up, and then coming back down for that final wave down. Or they could break out now. I don't think they are though. So when I have a look at patterns, I think they're missing a wave. And that's kind of across the board. So when I go to, hang on, crypto. And we go to the alts without BTC and ETH. We're in this region where I'm expecting a bounce. I don't think it's going to break out yet. I think counting the waves down here, we've got one more wave, and I think it's going to touch the bottom at about 561 billion. And then that's when we're going to get that explosive alt run. So I think that's really, really close. But, this has been following and breaking down as per this pattern. So if we do get another rejection in this region, then that's when we're going to be seeing that one last pullback on alts, and then the explosive run that we're going to see, because most alts are going to be going into either a primary wave or a wave 3. So let's have a look, because everyone wants to know what alts are doing.
Well, yeah, just before we go into alts, there's a good comment here on YouTube from Cryptophrenic, actually, just saying, just going back to the diversifying, been somehow experiencing coin number creep as of late, but pretty happy with how they're diversified, which is a good point, because that is something that so many people, experience. So I think that's a useful thing to talk about for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that you want to have. You want to have diversification in exchanges. You want to have diversification in coins. You don't want to have everything in one basket, literally, because something like FTX happens and you're all on one exchange, all gone. It's not the first exchange to go down. There's been many. Just do Wikipedia has a list. There's hundreds of exchanges, not all of them you'll know, but, like Quadringa, the Canadian exchange, there was an Australian exchange that went down. Mt. Gox, of course, we're all terrified that, the coins are going to come out. And honestly, some will get sold, but not a lot will get sold. I think the majority of people will hold for this bull run. I think the majority of people that were in at Mt. Gox know what BTC can do. And I think, they're going to just keep, sell a little bit, because obviously you want to have some money, but then the majority of that is going to go into this bull run. So that's if they do get released. We have heard this every year for many, many years. So diversification in coins. In getting started in crypto, we have a portfolio section that you can build your own bags, and you can sort of work out how much to be investing into those coins every week, every 2 weeks, every month, however often you want to be investing into them, and how to successfully split them up. So there's a portfolio that we've built, and basically to show everyone how that all works, how to split it up. I do recommend having a larger portion in Ethereum and BTC, obviously, because they're quite, they do make profit, and they're quite a stable sort of investment. And that sort of mitigates the risk from, all of the altcoins and that sort of thing, that, they are highly risky, because we can get something like BitConnect, or we can get something like Luna happen. And then if you're all in one coin, you are absolutely lost all your money. So just diversification is really, really important.
Just on the flip side of that, however, one thing I know I experience as well is, especially being so heavily into the crypto market at the moment, is that often weekly I will see a new coin and go, whoa, that looks amazing. That's definitely going to go 10,000 times. And it's like the best thing crypto's invented since crypto sliced bread, whatever that is. Are there any hard and fast rules that you apply? Because I know so many out there can look good and probably are good. How do you stop yourself jumping into every single one?
So with new coins, it depends. So if they've listed across all the tier 1 exchanges, then I'll probably take a small portfolio position in those. Because they're so new, I won't be trading them. I'll be just taking maybe a 5-week, 4-week sort of DCA into that, and then letting it ride, because most of them will come back down. I'll wait a little bit for it to come back down, because they normally correct into an ABC, and and then they take off. So you kind of need to be a little bit cautious entering all of these new coins, because literally there's hundreds of thousands of coins now when you look at Cointelegraph, and on Solana chains and on base chains, they're just like hundreds getting listed, thousands getting listed every day. And if it doesn't have any sort of real narrative about it, if you're not looking at, if you're sort of going in to invest in these coins and they've been listed on all the tier 1 exchanges, they've got a quality team behind them, before dipping your toe in. And I'm just reading the comment here, like any new token touting next big narrative before dipping a toe in, like, he's like $10. It's like, well, it's got to be what you can afford to lose in any investment in cryptocurrency. You only risk what you can afford to lose, because it could be all gone tomorrow. But if you're diversifying sensibly, then you've got a better chance of it not being gone tomorrow.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's take a quick break there, 30 seconds, and then we shall come back and have a look at some more. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Hello, we are back. Okay, let's jump straight into some alts.
Let's do it.
All right, Solana, because obviously everyone wants to know about Solana. We had a small signal on it in TTM the other day, and it was quite successful. Hit target this morning. But like Ethereum, like BTC, I don't think we are quite there yet. So the pivot on Solana is about $160, $161. This next wave up may get to that region. So I've been getting lots and lots of questions on Twitter and in my DMs about how high I think Solana may go in this next region. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out to a weekly chart, take that off, and see what is happening. So we had a nice sort of move. Now we want to see this kind of, at least at this point at 260. Potentially that would be a nice region to get a pullback, and then we've got a really beautiful cup and handle happening. And so what would happen is, let's have a look. So we look to almost have our full waves in this pattern. So I'm just going to get some levels so we can see how high we're going here. So now levels 786, 236. So Solana in this run, when we go back, we need to go back to this first wave and see how high we went. So we completed that level. So if this is our wave one, should come to about a double top for Solana, probably a little bit higher. So if this is our fourth wave, we should get to about 257 in this region. And then potentially, if we get the same explosive run that we got in the last run, where we saw this region go up to the point sort of 9.5 on the fib levels, if we get the same run that we got in the last run, then we're going to see Solana at $1,000. If not, it's going to be between $700 and $800. Still a really good move on Solana. And from this region, if we get to 700, 356%. If we get to 1,000, it's like 500, almost 600%. So yeah, definitely worth looking at some of these, coins. So doesn't mean it's going to get there. May take a little bit longer, who knows? But yeah, some of these alts are going to absolutely explode. So yeah, potentially the next wave up, we're looking at a double top for Solana, and then we can get some sort of idea of the potentials of the next wave once we've got that pullback in place. So yeah. It's all kind of, we haven't got enough waves in this structure as yet to get the full pattern. When we're looking at, next one is Sui, depending on how you want to call that. So I'm going to go up to a daily chart and just have a look at the pullback. Now, these new alts are quite impossible to sort of predict. We can see that we've got 5 waves in that pattern. So we're basically trying to gauge where this is going to turn. So it's pulled back to the 786. So we have got a bounce in that region. Now it needs to hold that 786 and then continue up. So if this is our A wave, we're probably looking at a B wave and then a C wave still to come for this. it could go straight into an impulse at this point. And, you know, if that was to happen, then you're kind of breaking up about above 1.48. But yeah, so it looks to be almost complete, but it can still go lower. We don't have any pattern memory on these new charts to know whether they like the 786 or they like a certain fib level. Hi-Fi. So again, this one still looks like it could be in a corrective phase. So if we have a look as to where we are, we can see that we've broken down below these previous lines. So that means that this is in a W, X, Y, X, Z pattern. So basically that is the last of those waves, and that normally will go, if we take this whole pattern and see, hang on, it's got the largest wick ever. Let's see where we are at this point. We're in between fibs, so that probably means this is going to bounce in this region, probably come up and touch the 200 MA, which is about 5960, and then it's going to come down and retest that next fib, which is at 0.95. The next one that we had requested from the group was GTC, and this looks like literally zombie coin. So we can see that a lot of these alts are just trending sideways at the moment. So we want to zoom in and see where we are, how many waves, and whether it's viable, sort of short-term, long-term. So we can see that this potentially it's very, very choppy, quite an ugly pattern. So this is potentially 1, 2, 3, looks still corrective, unfortunately. It doesn't look like it's got enough waves in this pattern. So I would say this is going to continue, maybe might have a bounce up to this region and continue down. Because it has broken this previous low, no sort of idea of telling how low it will go. So obviously you want it to hold this region, and maybe there's some kind of leading diagonal in that region. So, you know, if this is our low and this is the wave 1, and that was a leading diagonal, it's come up to the 786, and that can be a reversal point. So for this to be reversing at this point, we do need it to break up above potentially this level and then the next high. So obviously, but there's not a lot we can say about this chart. It's not one that I would trade personally. It just looks too high risk and it doesn't have a clear pattern. So if you really like this GTC project, whoever put this one in, then I would be DCAing into it, but it has broken below the previous, you know, cycle's low. So it's not one that I would be looking at. YGG, so this is Yield Guild Games. If you want to know more about these ones, we did an article in the moonmag.com. And I do believe it might have bottomed, or it might have one more bottom. So this one has a pivot at 0.6289. Breaking that region means it's potentially in an impulse and going to continue. So this fifth wave may have completed in this region. We're just waiting to see. So alts are a little bit tricky at the moment. XRP is just hanging on for dear life at the moment. So this is the daily chart. I'm going to drop it down to a 45-minute chart, see where our waves are going, because it's pretty choppy and pretty ugly out there. So this wave here only got an A, B, C, which potentially means it's still corrective. When we look at it, it is trending on this trend line. It has broken down a couple of times along the way, But that doesn't mean anything for XRP. It often has leveraged traders trading it, which means we get the extended wicks. So potentially, I think this is still corrective. This wave could be truncated though, and I think it needs to touch this line one more time to test it. So that is a 45.64. I think that is still very possible. I'd like XRP people to prove me wrong, but it's one of the ugliest charts there are out there, and essentially it's just, we did get an impulse here, but yeah, let's just have a look. It's Pierce's 786, so maybe, but yeah, I'd say potentially it's going to truncate in this region and then it could take off. But yeah, I don't know. So XRP is one of those ones that, you know, it's just when it's ready to go, it goes, but I don't know necessarily if it's there yet. You know, I'm getting all messages from lots of people saying, oh, make sure you're in XRP, it's about to go. And it's like, it's broken down. So this is the weekly. It's down below the MAs. It's not quite, it did touch bottom down at this region. It topped here, which is this region here. We haven't quite bottomed on RSI as yet again. So, you know, I'm not convinced that it's going yet. I think, again, like a lot of the alts, we're going to see a bounce here, but I think, you know, we've potentially got one more wave down. We can see that we've got the sell pressure is easing, but the weekly hasn't flipped this yet. We're not seeing any green islands on this chart. So monthly, we've had declining buy pressure. So for the month, last month, and you know, our EMAs here have crossed down. So that's not a good sign for XRP. You know, we do want to see this sort of momentum holding this diagonal and just literally changing this. So it's very neutral on the monthly chart on the RSI. When we go looking at lots and lots of different time frames just to get an idea as to where it could be sort of showing some movement, we have a look at the 4 hour and the MAs are really twisting around. So that does show so much confusion in this chart. So, you know, if you get a convincing break above and across on these MAs, then, you know, that's a good sign. But there's so much congestion in this chart at the moment that, you know, something needs to happen. So it either needs to shake that off by having one last dip, or just explode up. But there's no sort of in between. If it's just going to continue to just grind down, if there's sort of, you know, nothing major happens here.
Probably not what the hardcore XRP Ripple fans all want to hear, but there we go.
It's probably not. But I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what I see in the chart. So yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. So I think hang on, I've got another one, sushi and theta from Robbie in so let me just get those two up and then we'll call it a day. Okay. Sushi. So let's have a look at that one. So sushi has dropped below. So sushi got 5 clear, beautiful waves. That means that this is our first impulse for sushi. It is now coming down for correction. So this wave here may come up and retest sort of like the 106 sort of region, which was our golden zone. That would be our wave 4 coming up. and then it's probably going to pull back to about 719. So it's missing a wave, and it is in between the waves. It is like mid-fib level. So that is not something that happens on charts. They generally go to the fib levels, and if they don't, it's kind of weird, but it doesn't always happen. So this is what potentially this is going to look like. That's that, and coming down here. So within this pattern here, we've got a 1, a 2, a 3, coming up for a 4, and potentially coming down to finish that 5. So yeah, that's what we're seeing at the moment, which is likely why BTC is not yet impulsive. You know, if BTC decides it's impulsive, it's going to draw the whole market with it, but I don't think it's at that point yet. I think we're still in that sideways sort of slow accumulation structure on a lot of these patterns. So, you know, we can't be 100% sure that they have bottomed or they've got one more wave down. But what you want to be doing for the long-term bags, DCAing like on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly basis, and that way you have the best price. So if you started doing that and you know, it's going up, 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 and then it starts pulling down and you haven't had a stop loss or you didn't sell out, best way to do it is to DCA for the long term. Charts like sushi have beautiful 5-wave patterns. So, you know, we can sort of flip that over and go, okay, potentially when we've got the next, our impulse starting, and sushi's got those 5 waves. So that's our wave 1. So if you've got my book, Thousands to Millions, How to Become a Millionaire in a Year, I break down how I do these fib predictions. So our 236, we've come back down. We've gone up to the golden zone on sushi, and then we've come and not crossed over. So that's beautiful. It's just shy of the 236 here. So potentially once we've got this final wave, we will know, and we've got our wave 1, which would probably come to around this region. We know that we're probably going to go at about $4 or $5 on sushi for that next wave up. So it does look like, I don't know if we're going to meet the high, the previous high on sushi, but we're going to get close. So it's looking pretty good if it's one of the ones that you're DCAing at the moment. So looking quite good. And Theta was for Robbie. It has come right down. So it's hit the 8.6, and then this is a 4th wave structure. So it's likely to go to around 1.9 to 1.93 on this bounce up. This is starting to cross down on the daily, which means very likely it still has that wave lower to go. So coming back down, it's probably going to go to the 0.9, which is about 1.21. So just sort of watch as it goes in those regions. You can see that it's quite high on the stock, which means it's going to pull back on this region fairly soon. So you want it to hold the low here and then go up for that next wave before coming back down. So I don't think our alts are quite ready for bull run yet. I think they've got one more wave down, but we're almost there. So close.
So close. Excellent. Okay, well, let's wrap it up there for the night then. Any other last words you wanted to say?
No, if you oh yes, I just said no, but yes, if you are trading stop losses, if you are looking at long-term bags, DCAing, have a point of no return on those. Don't let them like just bleed down to nothing, because you want to protect your capital, because there's no guarantee that, you know, the market will turn. I do believe it will, but you know, you need to protect yourself and prepare for the worst always.
Very good. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining from around the world on X and YouTube, and of course in getting started in crypto.com. And have a great week ahead.
Yeah, and we'll catch you on Twitter, in the chat, in the group, and wherever, YouTube and Instagram, if you find me now too.
Blimey. Yeah, careful of scammers. Careful of scammers. There are so many Lisa and Edward scammers. So just be careful.
I'm not that one. I'm not the scammer though.
No, obviously not, but there's so many lookalikes. So just be careful. It's very easy to get caught out. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We will see you all soon. Bye.